Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're uncovering some really fascinating details hidden away in, well, some pretty big legislation. We're exploring a new child savings idea that's been making waves. Trump accounts. They're proposing this bill called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, H.R. 1.
Right. And the idea, at least on paper, is to boost long-term financial security for kids. Let them experience the miracle of compounded growth, as the source material puts it.
Exactly. So our mission today is to really unpack what this means for you, the listener. Because when we started digging into the details, something jumped out immediately.
Ah, you mean the $1,000 deposit?
Yeah, this unique one-time $1,000 federal deposit for kids born between 2025 and 2028. It sounds quite appealing on the surface.
It does. And this deep dive, I think, is really about getting past that surface appeal. It's not just what these accounts are, but, why the specific design choices matter so much, especially when you put them side by side with savings tools you might already be using.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then. That $1,000 federal deposit, it's a one-time thing for eligible U.S. citizen kids born in this specific pilot window. January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2028.
That's the cohort, yes. And then parents or relatives, even employers, can chip in up to $5,000 a year. That's after-tax money going in.
And the investments grow tax-deferred.
Yeah.
But you said the design choices matter.
Right.
What's the catch or the key detail there?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting and, frankly, quite different. We looked closely at the tax treatment. Unlike, say, a Roth IRA where your qualified withdrawals in retirement are tax-free.
Or a 529 plan for education.
Right.
Tax-free growth for qualified expenses.
Exactly. With these proposed Trump accounts, the earnings are actually taxed when you take the money out.
Oh, taxed how?
It depends. The House version we looked at suggests taxing qualified withdrawals at long-term capital gains rates. But the Senate version, it proposes taxing all the earnings as ordinary income, regardless of how you use the money.
So either way, those compounded growth gains face a tax bill eventually.
Precisely. Which, makes it potentially less attractive than the tax-free options already out there. It's a really unique and maybe less favorable structure from a tax perspective.
Okay, what about eligibility? You mentioned the birth years, but are there income limits? The $1,000 deposit seems universal.
That's right. The sources state no income limits for opening an account or getting that initial $1,000. Sounds fair, right?
It does, yeah. Universal access.
But some policy analysts we reviewed suggest this universal design could actually backfire. Their analysis indicates it might lead to regressive outcomes.
How so? If everyone gets the $1,000?
Because the real benefit comes from those additional contributions, up to $5,000 a year. Wealthier families are just, better positioned to consistently make those larger contributions and really maximize the growth.
Ah, I see. So the initial seed money is nice, but the real compounding happens with money that lower-income families might not have available to contribute.
Exactly. It contrasts sharply with what people call true baby bond proposals. Those are often designed specifically with progressive funding, maybe more money, for lower-income kids, explicitly aiming to reduce the wealth gap. Think like Connecticut's program, which is linked to Medicaid eligibility. These Trump accounts, as proposed, don't have that feature.
Okay, so potential issues with who benefits most. What about actually running this thing, the logistics?
That's another big area the sources flagged. The pilot program requires automatic enrollment for that 2025-2028 cohort. So if parents don't set up an account, the Treasury is mandated to step in and establish one.
The Treasury sets one up. Okay, then what?
Then it relies on the private financial market banks, investment firms, to actually manage these accounts. And that raises a really practical question.
Which is?
How does the Treasury effectively open accounts for families who might not even file taxes? Often the lowest income households, the ones who might not have existing relationships with banks.
Right, that sounds like a major hurdle.
It does. The Urban Institute analysis pointed this out. It creates a lot of friction. And potentially higher administrative fees for managing these maybe smaller, harder to set up accounts. Those fees could eat into that initial $1,000 pretty quickly.
So the mechanism intended to help could end up reducing the benefit, especially for those it's supposed to help most.
It's a real risk highlighted in the analysis, yeah. It could inadvertently perpetuate inequality rather than reduce it.
And we should also remember, This isn't happening in a vacuum. These Trump accounts are part of that larger One Big Beautiful Bill Act, H.R. 1.
Yes, and that same bill, according to the materials we reviewed, also includes significant proposed cuts to social safety net programs, things like SNAP and Medicaid.
So there's a real contrast there.
A stark one. For the lowest income families, the legislation, as described, offers this sort of deferred, restricted savings account for the future, while simultaneously proposing cuts to immediate support they might rely on today. Yeah, one analyst quote really stuck with me, describing it as offering a family a fishing rod for the future while taking away their food for today. Again, we're just conveying the analysis presented in the source material here, not taking a side. But it's a powerful image.
It definitely makes you think. And you mentioned the House and Senate versions differ, so the final details aren't even settled yet.
Correct. Things are still fluid. Key differences remain, like whether it's a trust or custodial account versus something more like an IRA, and crucially, how exactly those withdrawals get taxed.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, what's the bottom line here?
Well, despite that initial hook of a $1,000 federal deposit, the Trump account proposal in H.R. 1 seems to have some significant structural issues. The unique tax disadvantages compared to existing tools, the potential for regressive outcomes, and these tricky operational hurdles.
It makes it seem less appealing than it first sounds.
For many people, yeah. Existing options like 529 plans, if you're saving for education, or Roth IRAs for more general long-term growth likely offer better, more straightforward benefits, especially on the tax side.
So for you, the listener, this deep dive really underscores why it's so important to look past the headlines, to understand the practical impact of these policies. It gets you thinking about what really builds broad economic security for the next generation. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. When we think about building financial futures for everyone, what's the better path? Is it a big, universal, politically branded program like this, even if it might widen existing gaps? Or is it maybe more targeted, needs-based programs designed to tackle immediate challenges first? Something to mull over.